So, final lesson of this unit, we're going to be looking at surface area of a cube and talking about that. So, we're going to look at what the formula is for finding the surface area of a cube. So today's I can write and explain the formula for surface area of a cube. When I know the edge length of a cube, I can find its surface area and express it in the appropriate units. So make sure you have your I can statement. Today's date, you're ready to move on. That was a bit dramatic. All right, let's go. So I've got three sets of numbers here, and I want you to think about which one of these would be worth more in each part. So on the left side or the right side, which one's going to be worth more? Is 10 times 3 greater than 10 to the third power? No, it's actually less than, right? What about here? 13 squared or 12 times 12? Yeah, 13 squared is bigger. 5 times 97 or 97 squared? Yeah, 97 squared. Why is it that in each of these the ones with the exponents are worth more? Well, remember, what are exponents? Yeah, exponents tell you to multiply something by itself however many times. So here with 10 to the third power means that you're doing 10 times 10, and my writing's terrible today, times 10. It's repeated multiplication. Here where it says 3 times 10, that's repeated, but that's repeated addition. So this literally means to add 10 plus 10 plus 10. Whereas 10 to the third power says 10 times 10 times 10. Same thing happens here. 13 is bigger than 12, but because it says 13 squared, which is the same as 13 times 13, well, 13 times 13 is going to be more than 12 times 12. And here it should be pretty obvious. With this is saying 5 times 97, or adding 97 together 5 times. On the right here, though, you're talking 97 times 97. So you got to remember that these exponents are repeated multiplication, and they become very important when we're talking about finding area and finding volume. All right, so you can sketch these nets out that we're going to talk about here in a second, but for the most part, you should be able to answer them just thinking about them. So if we have a cube that has an edge length of 5 inches, and I'm going to sketch this one out. All right, I have my little cube. You can sketch yours out too. Remember, it's sketching, it's not perfect. So I know that one edge of this is 5 inches. What's the shape of each face? Well, if it's a cube, it has to be a square, right? What's the area of each face? Well, if I know one edge length is 5 inches, do I know the other edge lengths? Yeah, it's a cube, so they're all squares, so that means every side on this one is going to be 5 inches. So what's the area of one side? Well, it should be 5 times 5, right? And it would give us 25. Okay, so to find the area on a cube, we have to take whatever the edge length is. So I'm just going to call it E for the edge length. And we have to multiply it by itself, right? Couldn't we say that it's squared? Then what we do? Well, that just gives us the area of one surface. How many faces are on here? 6, right? So if I know that this is a cube, all I need to know is one edge length, square it, and then multiply it by 6, and I've got my answer. Well, 25 times 6 would give me 150. So this has a surface area of 150 square inches. Okay, what about its volume? How do we find volume? Yeah, volume we find by taking length times width times height. Well, all of those are 5, right? So it'd be the same as 5 times 5 times 5. Oops, mouse slipped. We can also think of that as what? How would we write the exponent for this? 5 to what power? Yeah, it should be the third power because 5 times 5 times 5 is the same sort of thing. So multiply that all together, we end up with 125 cubic inches. And because we multiplied 3 things together, again, that's why we put the little 3 with it, because that's a volume. It's 3 measurements multiplied together. Okay? All right, well, let's look over at the other one. I want you to think about these. These are a little bit tougher. I got a second cube that's 17 units. You can draw this out if you'd like to as well. You don't have to draw it true to size, but just a cube to help you out. So why, on number 1, why is the area of each face of this cube, each face is 17 square units? Well, I hope you chose that it's because since it's a square, if we know one side being 17, we know that the other side has to be 17. All the sides on a square has to be 17. And 17 times 17 would give us the area, and 17 times 17 is the same as 17 squared. What's the expression we would do for the surface area in square units? Well, I hope you knew that it was the 17 squared. We're not even actually solving for an answer here. Times how many faces? 6. So if we know one face, we have to multiply it by 6 because a cube has 6 faces. What about finding the volume? We know one side's 17. What would we do for the volume? Yeah, it'd be 17 cubed, wouldn't it? Or 17 times 17 times 17. Because for the volume, we're going to find it in cubic units in this particular one. So again, when you're thinking about exponents, they're just another way to put multiple repeated multiplication. What about here when they don't give us any numbers? Is that even possible for us to do it? Give it a shot. The length of one side is S. I hope you didn't panic about it too much. It really isn't super difficult. Because think about it. I can plug any number I want into that, but right now I don't have a number. So because I don't have a number, I'm just going to leave the letter. This becomes very easy. Because now I don't care what the number is. I don't even have to do any real math with it. All I got to do is think about what it's telling me to do. So one side of this is going to be S. How long is that? I don't know. I don't care. I know that the length is S. It's some number. So if I want to find the area of one of the faces, what's that going to be? The area is just going to be S squared, isn't it? Because I'm going to take S times S. See, even though I don't have a number here, I could plug in any number to help me understand this. So if I put in 2 for S, I could think of S here for the area being S squared, or 2 to the second power, which is 4, right? Because 2 times 2 is 4. Well, the point is that it doesn't matter what goes in here, what number you have in here. You can plug in any number and do the math. It's being able to represent what goes on. Well, so how do we find the total surface area? That's going to be the S squared, right? Yeah, and times 6 because there are 6 faces. So here we have our surface area of the entire thing. There's the area of just one of the faces. What about the volume? Yeah, we have to take length times width times height. They're all S's. So it would be S times S times S, or a very math way of writing it as S to the third power, or S cubed. So just because there's a letter here, don't let that stumble you. The letter just means it could be any number. You're not doing any math with this. All you have to do is understand that you could plug anything into it. And we want to leave it so that we could plug in anything into it pretty easy. So then we're just talking about, as long as you know what one of the edge sides are, if you take it, square it times 6, you'll get the surface area of the entire cube. Likewise, to know the volume of a cube, and this only works in cubes, if you know one side, if you put it to the third power, or if you cube it, then you'll be able to find the volume pretty easily. And you only need that one thing, and you're just plugging in one number to make it work. So the volume of a cube, if it's S, and remember S could be whatever number, it's going to be S to the third power, or S cubed, which means S times S times S. And remember that S can be any number. You just have to know, how to solve it. All you have to do is plug in that number here. A square has 6 faces. So if you know one side and find the area of one side, then you can take it times 6. Now they've got it written a little different here. They've got it as 6S squared. 6S squared is literally saying 6 times S squared. So remember that in multiplication, there's a few ways that you can see multiplication happen. One way is going to be like what we've always done for years. You've got a number, the times sign, and then the other number or whatever. Another way that you can write it is just using a dot that floats up. And as you go further in math and you go up through the grades, you're going to see this more often because you're going to start using variable letters like S. And so X is going to get confusing. So you're not going to want that in there. So there's going to be 2 ways that you as 6th graders and moving on in life are going to start seeing it. You're going to see it more often with a dot between the 2, meaning multiply, and like this. If you've got a number and a letter, or you've got 2 letters, it means that you would multiply. So this is here where it says 6S is understood that you should know it means 6 times the S squared. So if you see a number with a letter, that means that you multiply those 2 together. Okay? Don't worry, we'll go over it more as time goes on, but this is a concept that you should be able to tie in pretty close to what we've done in the last several years of math education. So today we talked about writing formula of surface area of a cube, and once we know the edge, what the surface area looks like, and how that formula would look for that surface area. Okay, a little long today, sorry, but this is getting a little complex, so hope you got all your stuff. If not, go back and get it down.